AOL literally spammed our actual mailboxes with CDs. First it was like 20 hours free, but like 2 months later it was like 19 billion hours for free. I mean, I remember spending $700 a month for internet access because it was by the minute. That was kind of the way it was. Every person in this room, including myself, every single one of us is grossly, heavily, deeply underestimating the internet. We just are. Because what we're talking about is the single biggest culture shift of our time. There has been nothing that has done what this platform has done. You can give me all you want about the printing press and about television, and they're huge. I'm not going to diss the telephone. I have no interest in standing up here and doing that. However, this platform has fundamentally disrupted something that a lot of people are not talking about. See, we all want to talk about how the internet disrupted music, right? Napster and iTunes, wow, music got really disrupted. And we talk about how publishing is being disrupted, right? Like, what's a publisher for? You can go direct to Kindle. We understand that certain things have been disrupted. But what's really been disrupted is communication. And communication is the foundation of everything we do. Let's do an exercise. I'd like you to raise your hand. I got up at 4:30 in the morning to catch my train, so please do not give me your half-ass hand. I don't want your head nod. I want your full fucking hand. Ready? How many people in this room, probably 2 or 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, maybe last year, whether you said it to somebody else or more likely you said it to yourself, said the following thing: I'm not going on Facebook. Why would I ever need it? That's for kids. I will never be on Facebook. That's so stupid. Raise your hand, don't lie. Lying is the devil. Raise it. I'll wait. I know some of you are hesitant. Thank you. I know you were hesitant. Thank you. You can put them down. Of those people, and front rows, you'll have to look back because I want you to see this. Of those people, how many of you are now on Facebook? Raise it. What just happened here? What just happened here is fundamentally the reason I have a living, like what I do. Like the businesses and the way I roll was based on that little exercise. See, what I realize, and what I think you probably realize as well, is that people draw lines in the sand. We love to do it. We love drawing lines in the sand. I'm not going to do that. You want to go really, you know what's great about this? This isn't just a crew of 18-year-olds. How about this one? How many people in this room said this doozy 10 to 12 years ago? I'm not getting a cell phone. Why would I want anybody to contact me anytime they want? Raise your hand. Don't lie. I know it hurts. Raise them. Some of the youngsters, look around. Keep them up for a second, please. Just raise them, because it sounds ridiculous to you, but I lived through it. Put your hands down. Just curious of the 40 of you, how many of you in this room do not have a cell phone? 0. 00. Robert Parrish. So, what I know is this. We say things are stupid because we filter in a very unique way, and we don't play chess. We see it as one move. How many people here thought Twitter or think, how about this one? Because I can understand why. How many people in this room think Twitter is stupid? Raise your hand. Raise it. Hi. Own it. Own it. I understand why. More than half. And here's why. Okay. And how many people here did not just raise their hands, but when they first saw it, or for at some time, thought Twitter was stupid? Raise your hand. The other half. The reason we think Twitter is stupid is the reason that I think 99.9% of you in this room are doing social media very poorly. The reason I believe 99% of the people on social media suck at it, don't understand the ROI, and won't be successful until they completely shift their brain. The reason you all thought Twitter was stupid is because the first time you saw Twitter and you filtered it through your brain, here's what you said. Who gives a shit what I'm doing? Nobody wants to know that I'm eating a fucking pizza. Who cares that I'm walking the dog? People want to know that I'm taking a shit? Screw that, right? That's what we default into. We default into, what am I gonna say? Let me promise you one thing. If you remember anything about this talk today, understand this, and it goes for Twitter, and it probably goes for everything, though Twitter as a tool does it maybe better than anything else. Twitter is the greatest listening tool of our generation. See, we defaulted into, what am I going to use my mouth for, when the tool was, what am I going to use my ear for? The reason I became relevant, the reason I have 900,000 fans on Twitter, the reason I used that platform to build enormous opportunities, like a 10-book deal, selling lots of wine, creating all the things that I've created for myself, was because when everybody was worried about what to say, I was sitting and spending 15 hours a day in 2007, a day, on a site called Surmise.com. How many people remember Surmise? Nerds. I saw you, pink girl. 2007, a site called Surmise.com was searching Twitter better than Twitter was. They eventually bought it, and now when you use Twitter search, it's actually that technology and that team. Right. I sat there, and this is when nobody knew who I was. I started my wine show, which brought me to this opportunity called Wine Library TV in 2006. Nobody knew who Gary Vee on Twitter was. I had no base. I had been building a business, but I wasn't known to anybody. Half this room doesn't even know who I am now, so you can imagine, after 100 television appearances and all that, that nobody knew who I was. And all I did was I searched wine, Chardonnay, Merlot, Bordeaux, Pinot Grigio, Yellowtail, and on and on and on. I searched my sector. I searched my niche. I searched my interest and my expertise. And what I did next is what matters most about social. See, when checking some of the people that were tweeting about this event, and knowing some of the people that were going to be here, did a little homework on like how they're rolling on social. And it's what I do for a profession. So I can tell you this. People use it as a press release. Nobody wants to follow you on Twitter for you to tell them you have an open house. Or link at this. And when I talk to my brands, nobody follows you on your Facebook fan page so that you can push them a video of your fucking commercial. That's what we have DVR for, is we don't want to see that shit. But that is how most people roll. This is a listening game. See, it's not your fault. And listen, I get it because I'm a hardcore salesman. I didn't want to really tell you what my first job was. I told you it was lemonade. I lied. My first business, when I was 4.5, was that I would go to people's yards, I would rip their flowers out of their yards, then I would ring their doorbell and sell it back to them. By the way, tremendous business model. High margin, you don't set up inventory very low. I popped the dimples on them and it was over. So, I come and I stand here in front of you guys and I preach about social media, not because I think it's Zen, not because I'm Mother Teresa, not because I want it to be all so good. It's because I truly believe that social media sells stuff. The problem is it sells stuff in a way that nothing else has sold stuff. It sells stuff in the way your mom sold you, not your dad. It sells you in a way that a jab sells you in boxing, not the right hook. It sells you in the way that the good cop is just as important as the bad cop. For the last 150 years, my friends, we've had one way to sell. We've pushed our message down the consumer's throat. That's what you've done, and me too. I built a big wine company on full-page ads in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal, and direct mail, and coupons, and radio, and if you've ever been to Newark Airport, you might have saw a huge freaking billboard of me with a bottle of wine, all that. Push, 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 push. It's all you've ever done. You and everybody else. Last 150 years. That's what the platforms allowed us to do. What was television going to do? What was a commercial? It was push. Whoever in this room knew how to tell the best story and had the means to push it out on the biggest platforms converted. And if you were good at storytelling, you converted better than if you were bad. And you spent as much money as you could on the yellow pages to push. And you spent as much money as you could on a bench ad and had your smiley face with your fucking tie and like me. All that shit. Right? And then the internet came along. And did it change it? Absolutely not. You know what it was? Push again. You searched and they put ads. Push. Email services? Push. Everything has been push in marketing for the last 150 years. It hasn't changed. You listen to some little radio show and they push the commercial. And you watch TV and they push the commercial. You went outside and there was a billboard and they pushed it. Push. For the first time ever, we are now living in a pull environment. For the first time ever, consumers are putting out data about themselves that we never had access to. My friend bought his $3 million apartment in Manhattan 6 months ago from one tweet. That's what he did. He's a creature of this new environment. He tweeted out, I decided to rent no more. I will be buying an apartment in Manhattan. I need help. And the 6 real estate agents that were paying attention, that pinged him, were then met with, filtered out to one, and that person closed that commission on one tweet. Do you know what I call that? ROI. So, we're living in a different world. You know why we're living in a different world? Because we are living through the biggest culture shift of our time. The biggest culture shift. Let me take you back to 7 years ago. Who in this room does not remember 7 years ago? Good. Not a lot of drinking. 7 years ago. 2000, let's call it 8. 2003. Let's take it back to 03. Let's take it back to 02. Let's go 9. Fine. 2002. No YouTube. No Facebook. No Twitter. Guys, this is like 5 minutes old. How many people here are retiring in 5 years? Retiring. You will no longer be doing what you're doing, you're retiring. Raise your hands. And I don't mean you fucking crushed it and now you're going on a beach. I mean you're planning on retiring. Raise your hands. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh, 4. You guys at 5. Okay. You look like you're 30, dude. What the fuck are you retiring for? I didn't say who wants to retire. I said who's fucking tired and needs to retire. Fine. For the 4 of you, and I'm still debating because I'm looking, you all still look like you got something in the tank, but fine. It's up to you. Then this will be a little bit less relevant. But here's how I feel about social. See, I grew in a time where my first keynote was about e-commerce. Let's take it back to 11, 12, 13 years ago. When people debated, when I sat in a room like this and said, had a person speak before me and say that e-commerce would never take off, that the internet was a fad. Remember those conversations? Yep. Nobody here wants to raise their hand for that. How many people here thought the internet was a fad 15 years ago? Raise your hand. Brave. Brave. I appreciate it, Terry. Great job. People thought it was a fad. A lot more people even in this room that want to raise their hand. It's just inconceivable now, but that was the conversation. And here was the real conversation when I was building WineLibrary.com. Nobody's going to put their credit card into a computer. Nobody's going to trust a computer with their credit card number. There was a real hurdle. How many people here remember truly not wanting to put their credit card into a computer? That's almost every single person in this room. Guys, we are human beings. It's how we roll. This is why social matters so much. Everything I've been making you raise your hands for is purpose. I want to remind you where we came from 5 minutes ago to tell you where we're going. We're going to a place where nobody in this room is going to give a shit about privacy. I get it. Some people I just lost 3, 4 of you. I get it, but I promise you. And listen, I grew up in a household where my 2 parents lived in the Soviet Union for the first 22 years of their lives. They value privacy a fuckload more than you do. So I get how people are passionate about privacy, but I'm telling you, you're not going to care. And let me tell you why. Because marketing is funny. Because the marketing that the evening news and mainstream media have been doing for the last 50 years on this brand, the most underrated brand in the world, us. The most underrated brand in the world is brand human. Fuck trees and dogs. We're the best. And let me tell you why. Because what you get sold when you watch television is that we're bad. You get sold that somebody at Logan Airport like shot somebody in the face and this, that, and the other thing and all this, some random Jets fan at Foxborough stabbed somebody, like that kind of stuff. You get sold that. That's what we hear about. When MySpace came out, they sold you to be scared of it because your daughter was going to get raped at the mall. Let me tell you what's happened in the last 15 years since these social networks and sites have come down. Child crime has gone down. You know why? Because it's harder to hide. Because we didn't roll with cameras 15 years ago. See, what the internet and social media are doing are putting lights on the shadows of our society. Let me give you a real good story. About a year ago now, this time, my brother-in-law was getting married and we all went to Vegas. My brother-in-law. If there is ever a time you're allowed to go to the strip club, it is when your brother-in-law, your wife's brother is getting married and you're going with him, it's fine. And I did not want to go in Vegas because I was scared somebody was going to take a twit pic and put it on Twitter or Facebook. That is the society we now live in. The world is changing. We are underrated. It is shocking in this open world that we live in right now, how little bad things happen. Look at the data, not your emotion, not what Brian Williams says on the news. Look at the data. It is stunning what's going on. And every single person in this room, no matter what they sell, whether it's a home or something else, in 5 years, 7 years, if they are not fully integrated, all in, not half pregnant, like so many of you are right now. I mean, doing it for the sake of doing it, because you think you have to. People roll up on me all the time. Hey Gary, I have a Facebook page and a Twitter account, and I'm trying to use Foursquare. I'm like, good, what do you want, a fucking cookie? I don't care. That's default. That's like saying oxygen. To be in business in 2012 and not be on Twitter actively and not have a Facebook fan page for your business is insanity. It is the same way I watched businesses go out of business by not having a .com. Because why would I want to have a catalog on a computer that nobody's going to use? Guys, being in social media, and by the way, the world's going to change. The word social media has got another about 15 minutes. Soon it's going to be called cloud mobile computing. They're going to come up with something else. It was Web 2.0 8 minutes ago. It's going to be something else, but it is the internet, the default layer. I don't give a crap about Facebook or Twitter or Foursquare or anything else. You know what they are? They're tools. Great, so Facebook might be a grenade, and Twitter's maybe a pistol, and I'm sure a missile and a bomb will come out after that. I'm not sure, and will they shift? Maybe. Do I think Zucks has the chops to keep Facebook at the top? I do, because right now, there's so many real people on Facebook, it's hard to leave. You know, everybody's like, oh, Google Plus is here, we have to go there. Well, your aunt and your grandmother's not going to Google Plus so fast, and it changes the dynamic. But even if they did, and I hate this argument, so I want to squash it for all of you right now. I hate when people are like, but Gary, you want me to invest all this time? What happens when Facebook becomes just like MySpace and it's gone? Did I waste all my time? When you make a relationship with somebody, in Las Vegas during the convention, when you go home, you don't have to lose that relationship. Word. Somehow, all of you are thinking about this, whether you realize it or not, and that word is content. See, how many people in this room have heard content is king? Raise your hand. About half. It's a big word. Content is king, right? Whatever you're putting out is king. It's literally everything you think about. It's the way you dress, it's the way you put out a website, it's your business card, it's the way you present when people come into your open houses. If you've got cookies and it smells nice because it's cinnamon and lemonade, the way you roll, that is your content. Everybody's obsessed with that. That is how people default into thinking about the world. Bless you. The word that I am obsessed with, the only word that I care that you even write down or leave here with today is context. The word that is going to sell you a shitload of homes compared to the person that's not going to sell dick is context. Context, my friends, is the word, and let me explain. How many people in this room have sold something because of word of mouth? That you did something good, and then somebody else referred it, and you did business? Raise your hands. I expect everybody to raise their hands, especially if you're in real estate. You've got to be out of business if you're not getting word of mouth from the real estate industry. You have to be. I mean, that's what you live on. What social media is inherently is word of mouth on steroids. Social media is word of mouth that hangs out with Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. It is on steroids. And it is important for you to understand this. Here is why this world is so important. We as human beings are now sharing thoughts with each other in a way that we never have before. We are saying things on Facebook and Twitter and these other sites, things that we would have never picked up the phone and called our friends about. Nobody in this room would pick up the phone and call their friend this morning and say, coffee in the morning is the shit. Or pinkberry yogurt is delicious. But every one of you now can sit down for a second and think about the last 5 or 7 things you saw one of your friends say on Facebook and see things that look exactly like that. And meanwhile, not only would none of you pick up the phone and call your friend about that statement, you definitely wouldn't have picked up the phone and called every one of your friends to say that. And that is the world we're living in. We're living in a world where when my friend says that he had a Kit Kat bar and it was yummy, that when I go to 7-Eleven 7 hours later, that brand impression, based on the context of my relationship with that person, is impacting my sales. You would not spend $1 on marketing if you didn't believe in what I just said. Because that impression is supposed to lead to an action. Period. So, let me ask you guys a question. Do you think a TV commercial that's funny, or a print ad in the back of the ads that's interesting, or an email is going to mean as much to you as your Aunt Sue saying that movie was the best movie she ever saw? It's never going to happen. See, word of mouth and context is where the world is going. One-on-one marketing, truly understanding the individual. We had an order come in from Wine Library a couple months ago from a guy. And I told Kristen, K. Murphy at Wine Library, I needed a case study when I go on this Thank You Economy tour to really make people understand what the hell I'm talking about. Put it in black and white, real business. We have a thank you department at Wine Library now. That is not customer service. Customer service is playing defense. Thank you department is playing offense. You guys should understand that, because you have a great offense and a shit defense, right? Listen, we have a way shittier offense. As bad as your defense is, we're not going to do anything to it. Anyway, stay focused. Customer service is playing defense. You are reactionary. You take a complaint and you respond to it. Thank you department on the offense. Here's what my thank you department does in my business. We got an order, and we found the guy, and he's from Chicago, placed a nice order, nothing crazy, $1,000, nothing, it wasn't like we had to, it wasn't a whale or anything out of the ordinary. And Kristen was taking that day and just looking up people that ordered and seeing if she could find who they were on Twitter. She found this guy. So we started following what he said for the next month or two. And basically the things he was talking about were this. Jay Cutler, I love you. Jay Cutler, we're going to beat the Packers. This was January of last year. Jay Cutler, we've got this. Super Bowl goes through Chicago, baby. This is the big game, I can't wait. Oh crap, I think Jay Cutler's hurt. We're in trouble, I hate the Packers. Jay Cutler, I still love you. The guy likes Jay Cutler. For some of you that may not know, Jay Cutler's the quarterback of the Chicago Bears. K. Murph sent me this data and sent it to me. I wrote back to him and said, I want you to go to eBay and I want you to buy a signed Jay Cutler jersey and send it to this person's home. And say, thank you for shopping with winelibrary.com, and that's it. So we sent it, and that was my example. I was trying to tell people that, you know, we have more data on people, right? You could know everything about the people that are walking through. Could you imagine every person that goes through an open house, like literally knowing a lot more about them, knowing if they were full of shit, had the potential to buy it, knew their social graph, knew what they cared about? Could you imagine a world like that? That's the world we're living in. So, we sent it, and that was it. And that was the example I gave, and I gave some other examples about people that a guy bought $37 worth of wine, which is not worth your time, and us going and helping him for a whole day curate a barbecue tour in Kansas City. And what that led to was him telling his friend, who spent $8,000 with us, and that was worth our time, right? And so, all this stuff, but something happened interestingly. We got an email from the guy from Chicago recently, after like 3 months from not hearing from him. And he said, Kristen, thank you so much. I got the jersey. How'd you know? He said, I'm a hedge fund guy in Chicago, and I'm just super busy, but I just want you to know, thank you so much. It means so much to me. I've spent a couple $100,000 on my wine collection in the last year at Sam's in Chicago, and they wouldn't even know me if I walked in. I just want you to know you've bought yourself a lot of business. Now, makes the story better, but I actually don't care, because I think of this at scale. You've got to strike out a whole bunch of times to get hits. It's kind of like baseball. It's amazing that if you bat 300, you are in the Hall of Fame. That's 3 out of 10, and you are literally in the Hall of Fame. It's kind of how I look at one-on-one marketing. If you're going to filter it, something more advanced with social media through something like clout, or if you're going to look at how many followers I have and game it, you're not going to win, because you don't know if somebody who only has 6 friends, one of those friends happens to be Oprah, right? So, I think people are going to make mistakes, but the fact of the matter is, we now have data on consumers that we've never thought before, and there's ways to intercept it. On the way up here, I was making pretend that I was a RE/MAX agent, and I searched on Twitter, which, by the way, from a tactical standpoint, you may want to know that you can search a word on Twitter, then hit the space bar, then do near, N-E-A-R, : and then a zip code. So you can search Twitter conversations within a 5 to 10 mile radius of you. So some of you might be thinking, well, I don't need the national data. I sell homes, in Newton. Well, guess what? Now you can search people talking in Newton. And so what's interesting to me is this. What Twitter's allowing us to do is create context with people in a cocktail party environment. See, Facebook's your home, but Twitter's your country club. And you guys need to take advantage of that. People are open to engagement on these platforms, and you guys and many other companies are leaving it on the table. Now, what happens next is interesting. So I saw somebody who said they're looking to go to open houses this weekend. I was like, shit, that would have been awesome for people to say, hey, check out, blah, blah, blah. Problem is, the people that have realized that even this data is out there, and it's achievable for you to go in there and collect it, and engage, and build your business, the problem is, this is where it gets broken. They go back into the marketing ways that they came from for the last 150 years. Push. The problem with most people, and I've watched some here and definitely globally, is that when they go to engage with that person, when their opportunity opens, everybody acts like a 19-year-old dude. They try to close on the first move. And that's where people are getting hurt with the way they're marketing on social.
That's right.
And the ladies understand this better than us dudes do. The guy that rolls up on you and basically goes for the kill in the first move is by percentage not winning. Now some dudes look like Tom Brady and then he can close it, I get it. But not everybody's like that. Fundamentally, the person that puts any effort into the relationship is going to win. The problem is most businesses, most agents, most people are treating social media like a one-night stand.
Yeah.
And thank you. You agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is that everybody's trying to close in one move. Nobody's looking to put anything into the relationship in the midst of the greatest context war of all time. See, context is what matters, and it doesn't have to happen in real life, and that is what is throwing people off. See, I know, as I sit here, I know who those two guys are. You know why? Because we talk a ton on Twitter. And we talk and we talk and we leave comments on my blogs. And have we ever met? We've never met. Do you feel, I feel something for you. Do you feel something for me? But I find that massively fascinating. Terry, have you and I met before today?
Only at a distance.
Only at a distance, so we haven't, right? But I feel differently about you than I do about most of this crowd, because we engaged for 3 minutes in the back room, and our context ladder went up. And so if you said to me, hey Gary, real quick, can you run back there and get me a water? I would do it for you, Terry. And if you guys said something like, hey, can you give me 10 minutes afterwards, which I don't have, but we have 3 questions, I'd give it to you. But for the rest of you fuckers, I'd give you nothing. And that's what really matters. And I'm being serious. What you are willing to do for your mother or father is a shitload more than you're willing to do for your brother and sister. Well, not for me, it's close. I mean, for you, it's yeah, everybody has their own thing. But the fact of the matter is, what you're willing to do for your best friend compared to a good friend, compared to an acquaintance, compared to somebody you've met once, compared to a perfect stranger, is very different. And what social media will allow you guys to do is to build that context while you're laying in your underpants watching Glee. While you're at 2 o'clock in the morning eating popcorn and watching, reruns of Mad Men. While you're just waking up at 6 in the morning and you're doing it on your way to work. What I did for 4 hours on the way here in the train was create obnoxious amounts of context, will then set up an opportunity for that person to feel differently about me, and then once in a while, when I have a moment that matters to me, they will convert. You know what this is? This is what your grandparents knew to do. All I'm talking about right now is the 1920s and 30s. The way businesses were built in this great country during that era was based on small town rules. Your grandfather started cutting the roast beef in his deli the second somebody walked in because he had context. He lived in that small circle and he knew everything about that customer. He even said, how was Skippy's baseball game today? They had relationships. They had context. And then the suburbs came, and we all went away. And our collective power as consumers got dispersed, which allowed the Walmarts and the Targets and the Kmarts and the Toys R Us's to evolve and become something because they were not built on service. They were built on price and convenience, and that is what became important to us. Now that we are reconnected with each other for the first time, like we used to be, back when they literally left their front doors open, back when they literally hung their laundry out to dry, back when you knew everything about everybody within your social graph, we are now going back to that. How many people in this room have reconnected with somebody on Facebook that they have not talked to prior to that for 10 plus years? Raise your hand. By the way, hold on real quick. Front row, just look at this. This is virtually every single person. We are talking about reconnecting with people that we have not talked to and would have not for a decade, and we now have context on them. You actually know their kid's name conceivably. Or more importantly, you may just see one thing go through your stream that says that they love this spa, and you happen to be going to Orlando too, and commerce is going to be done. Or they're saying, thank you, Kristen, for helping me with my home. Best real estate agent ever. And that is hitting your radar that it never could before. How many people here have reconnected with people that they have not talked to for 20 years? Incredible. 30, 40% of them. 30 years. Jesus, it's amazing. 30, how old are you, sir? 38? You connected with some dude from like kindergarten? Fucking epic.
Yeah, I have.
40 years. There are 20 people in this room right now that have connected with somebody who they have not talked to in 40 years because of this technology. Not Facebook, the internet. Yes, Facebook, the tool, but the internet. 40 years. And now we're recreating context. And you know what's funny? There's a lot of emotion behind that. You feel a lot more when your friend that you went to high school with said this balloon company's good or this pudding is delicious. And this is minutia shit, I get it. But I'm being dead serious with you. You feel a lot more than you do when you're flipping through Glamour magazine and see a pudding ad. Or when you're watching, you know, Gossip Girl and like some radio commercial comes up. This is context warfare. This is the future of marketing. This is what you're all going to be battling. And the ones in here that already are successful in real estate because they're doing this at a micro-local level. They're doing it. They have that tech. They're the ones that send the gift basket to the person they closed the home for and said thank you because they want to create that referral funnel going forward. But it's not the ones who do it as a tactic. It's the ones who really fucking mean it. Because the one problem that nobody understands, the one thing that nobody understands is that everything I write about in my new book, The Thank You Economy, will be ruined in 5 years. Obsolete. Ruined. Because marketers and salespeople and realtors ruin everything. We do. We're salespeople. We figure out the tack and we attack. 12 years ago when nobody understood Google AdWords, I was buying wine for 5 cents and I was converted. Then people figured it out, it's now $9 and it's spammed out, bless you. Google, the greatest search engine of all time. Greatest thing that ever happened to us. Killed by people doing SEO spam black hat to be the first results for houses in Boston. Not the best quality content, the person that wanted to sell shit. Salespeople are relentless, it's why we're good. But we ruin everything. It's called the free shipping rule in my head. 1998, free shipping at winelibrary.com. First time we ever did it. Still the biggest day in Wine Library sales history. We were 12x smaller back then. I was there for 4 days packing orders to 4 in the morning to just keep up with it. People were buying wine that day like they thought the bottles had the cure inside of it. One guy places a huge order, and in the note says, this wine's for my daughter's wedding. Thank you for doing free shipping, this helps me out. Me living in the thank you economy back then and not realizing it, decide to call him. I call him, Jim, thank you so much for this 20-case order, it's so nice. We're having a big day, it's crazy, it's free shipping wild. Listen, I noticed in the notes that your daughter's getting married. I'd like to send you a bottle of champagne for you and your family to share it during the wedding. So tell me where I can send this bottle of champagne. He said, oh, no, Gary. My daughter is 12. I said, what? He said, my daughter's 12 years old, but this free shipping deal is so sick, I'm buying the wine and putting it in my basement. I'm gonna wait. 1998. Now you guys are so sick, you don't buy shit unless it is free shipping. Because we get used to things real fast. Have you heard somebody complain that the internet was out for 3 minutes? It's like somebody stole their lives. Are you fucking kidding me? You're going on something that comes from the fucking air. I mean, and you're complaining. I mean, have you ever heard a kid that complains that like there's a commercial on? Or like my daughter who's 2.5 who can't comprehend how she can't watch her show when she wants to watch her show. When I was growing up, if we had like a parent-teacher conference or we had to do some family dinner event and I missed the Wonder Years, I fucking missed the Wonder Years. I had to hope that that summer I catch it. We are living in a very different world. Remember, how many people in this room have a child 12 to 18 years in their lives, whether it's their child or niece, nephew, friend, 12 to 18 years old, raise your hand. If it's your own child, you'll really remember this. Remember the conversation 24 months ago when they were like, come on, mom and dad, just text me. And you're like, you will not be texting with your mother or father. You will answer my fucking phone call. Remember that? How many of you had that conversation? Raise your hand. Just curious, how many of you now are texting? Guess what? They won. And they didn't win because little Johnny's so fucking good, because little Johnny sucks shit. He's easy to beat. He won because he had technology on his side. The world is going to move, whether you like it or not. Social media for you in this room is not an option. This isn't like, all right, everybody, we had a good talk, and Gary Vee came, and we joked about the Jets and Patriots, and go, you're gonna do it. This is not an option. If you do not do it, you will be put out of business by people that look like me that are gonna take your shit. And if you don't do it fast enough, I may come up here and take your shit. Because it's going to happen. Because Zagat, you guys know this, how many like restaurants? You know Zagat? Raise your hand if you know Zagat. They just sold to Google, right? They're okay. But 5 years ago, when I saw the Zagats, 4 years ago, and said, listen, you need to see what's going on with Yelp. I think it may be a problem for you. They pissed on it. They said, pfft. When Blockbuster was offered Netflix for $30 million, they said, how'd that work out? Not good. This, my friends, honestly, it's not an option. For the 4 of you that are retiring in the next 5 years, maybe I'll let you get away with it. You know? But the fact of the matter is, what's happened in the last 7 years in our society, what happens in the next 5 is going to blow your mind. What happens when SEO is not as relevant? Because SEO is actually Facebook's friend feed that's coming into you. And that algorithm matters more because you start shopping and searching through your social network, not by going to Google. Because you're not going to get spam results, you're going to get somebody you actually know telling you what the best VCR is, or how to hook up your phone, or where the best restaurant in town is. What happens in that world? What happens in a world when you come home and your remote control is your iPad, and you don't have to watch on TV what you have to watch on TV, but you can do what I really want to do, which is I only want to come home, look at my little iPad, type in New York Jets, and watch content. Whether it's good content, like from national television, or if it's somebody that looked like me doing my wine show, sitting and talking about it on the TV. And I can buy that and watch it, and advertisement's going to want it. What happens when our water cooler moments are no more? Because we're all watching so many different shows. We don't have Friends and those kind of show moments anymore. We're all watching 19 different things. Every day somebody's like, do you watch the show on Showtime? It's sick. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. It's happening more and more. Content. Content is a commodity. Being smart is a commodity. Remember 20 years ago when you went out and had dinner and somebody was smart and knew shit? They actually rode and drove the conversation? Now somebody says to me, you know, Gary, the 4th president of Egypt, right? I'm like, yeah, right here on Google, 2 seconds. Muhammad, fuck you. You know, so. Information is a commodity. The shift in our society is going from IQ to EQ. The ladies in the place are going to start winning because their natural DNA is where the world's going. And the dudes that are sensitive, like me and Tom Brady, will do fine too. But for the ones that don't understand that, and don't understand that you have to close on the first move, that what's the ROI of social media? That's the big one. How many people have been in that discussion or have heard that brought up? Raise your hands. You know, you hear me come up here and I'm going to tell you that I want you to engage with every person. Anybody that ever emails you or replies you on Twitter or leaves a Facebook status, that you need to contact them, that you need to engage them. And you're going to be like, but wait a minute, when do I do my real job? If you're spending 12 hours a day on this bullshit, when do I do my real job? 2 things. 1, when did engaging the potential customer that puts the cash in your pocket not become your real job? And 2, you need to audit what you're doing every day to begin with now. I promise you, if we all wake up tomorrow and brush our teeth and we're looking at ourselves in the mirror, we're spending an hour or 2 or 3 on dumb shit. And if you really want it, and if you're complaining about the worst real estate market of all time, then sleep 1 hour less and do this. Stop watching fucking Lost and do this. Because there is plenty of time, and we all have families, and we have a lot of practical things. You gotta pay student loans, or rent, or mortgages. I get it. But the fact of the matter is, and this is just the fucking honest truth, nobody gives a fuck. And you know who cares less? Technology. Technology doesn't give a shit about you or me. Right now I'm cool and I know what the fuck's going on, but my 2.5-year-old daughter's gonna be 6 real soon, and I'm gonna wanna go to everything. And you know what's gonna happen? I'm not gonna be as good as I am right now. I can feel it in my body already. I know what my priority is, and I'm not gonna be as good. And you know what? Tech's not gonna feel bad for me. Nobody's gonna feel bad that Gary Vee's not on top of his shit anymore. You know what they're gonna do? They're gonna run me over. Now, I'm pretty gangster, I'm gonna stay on as long as I fucking can. But, that is the reality of the marketplace. Nobody feels bad for you in this room that you didn't grow up with this. You didn't grow up driving and you fucking figured it out. I really have no interest in people saying this is not it's a generational thing. I hate when I see the kids texting each other, it's not real. Guess what? Those kids are making more contacts that are more social than you ever were. As they're talking, creating real emotions, like I am with these guys on these platforms, you used to sit in your swing set in your fucking yard and just swing back and forth. Guys, I'm telling you, this is no joke. You know, it's all funny up here and I'm enjoying it, I'm enjoying your company. This is real business. I have no interest. I have no interest in selling you. I prefer none of you buy my book in the back. I don't know if that screws you guys up, but I don't want that. I have no interest in that. What I came here to do today is to create context, to meet people that I had context with before, to create new friendships, and to create as many micro contexts as I can, because all of a sudden, you know what happens when you create context? When I'm on Morning Joe in 2 weeks, or on CNN, you're like, oh shit, there's that kid. Before you would have just kept on clicking, and you're gonna listen. I'm gonna say something, you're like, huh, interesting, and blah, 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 and then you're gonna tell your friend who's the CEO of GE, and then all of a sudden Vaynermedia is gonna land a $2 million account. This is how it works. It always has, and you know what I love talking to real estate industry people? You guys understand this. I hate talking to corporate marketing people. For them, it's all scale, right? Gary, if it's not hitting 1 million people, it's stupid. I'm like, well, you're stupid. You're spending $3 million on Super Bowl commercials that nobody gives a fuck about. Hire 50 people that care about your end user and talk to them about the brand, and you'll have much more business. That's another story for a different crowd. For you guys, the fact of the matter is this. You know it already. The way you handled your active customers through the years to get to where you are is what's led to so much of your business. Smaller businesses like the one I own and the ones that you own or you work within, we don't have the big marketing budgets. We're not buying billboards in Logan Airport. We don't have a sign out in Fenway. We're not sending a direct mail piece to everybody. This is inexpensive sweat equity marketing that all of you understand, and you've all sold based on word of mouth before. Word of mouth is on steroids, like I said earlier. Products are going to continue to go. What happens in mobile? What happens? Who here is in a group that has 30 agents on the team, or 20? Like, who's in a group that, let me put it in a better way. Who's here in a group, or could conceivably has 10 open houses on a weekend? Raise your hand. Okay? How about 5? Okay? What if you started for your program, for your business, a Foursquare check-in discount campaign? That every person that comes to your open house, if they checked in with Foursquare, that if they then buy the home, that you would take 1/4 point off the commission and give it back to them. What would happen? Here's what would happen. What would happen is the demo that's actually buying homes, which is skewing younger, would actually be open-minded to that. Number 2, every time somebody came to one of your open houses, they would be forcing word of mouth to their entire social graph. So they would be lead genning for you. The dream, could you imagine? How many people here get excited about this? I come and look at one of your open homes, I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. I don't need it, but stay right here. I'm about to call all 400 people I know about this. John, this place is sick. Peter, this place is the shit. How many people like that idea? That is what these platforms enable. That is what technology does. It's at scale. It forces virality. It uses word of mouth. And we are tuning out everything else. The amount of content being produced in the world today, in every 48-hour window, is the same amount that was produced from the beginning of mankind until 2003. I want you to hold the person's hand next to you because I want everybody to grasp what I just said because your reaction was some bullshit. Let me say it again. From the beginning, like when we fought dinosaurs, until 2003, which all of you remember, every piece of music, article, TV show, not USA, worldwide, all the volume of that is now being replicated in every 48-hour window. No wonder our kids are ADD. We had like 3 fucking channels, maybe 36 if you were legit. I mean, and so what that means is your clever flyer, or the email you send, or that status update that you pushed out on Facebook and you're so proud of yourself that you use Facebook, isn't gonna do jack shit. Content can't break through. Only the top 1%, and that's nothing. That's like 4 people today are gonna break through. Content matters. Your actual ability to understand how to sell a home matters. My show did well because I actually knew what I was talking about. I knew about wine for 15 years before I started. Content will always be king, but context is now religion. Context really matters. The way to really build an audience, to build a base, to refer, to sell you homes, is by having as many relationships in that town as possible. It was unacceptable 10 years ago for you to go to every single person's home in your market, knock on it, and become friends with them. That is now not only accepted now, but it's looked upon as wonderful. And you can do it from your home. Let's say it again. Unacceptable 10 years ago for you to go and knock on everybody's door and say, I'm Pam, and I sell shit around here, so let's do this. And you may say it differently. Unacceptable. It's unacceptable. You get arrested about 20 minutes in. But now, doing it virtually and achieving the same thing at scale with word of mouth behind it is looked upon as forward thinking. Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr for your pictures and on really is really gonna matter. And it's happening very, very quickly. And the future home buyers in your funnel will only know one way. How many people here have a TiVo or a DVR? Raise your hand. How many people here this year, for the majority of what they watch on television, DVR'd and TiVo'd the majority of what they watch on television? Of those people, how many of you in 2011 fast-forwarded every single commercial? There's nothing crazy about what I'm talking about. I promise you, when you rewind it, it all makes super sense. You just gotta look within yourself. The problem was, you drew a line in the sand. You said Twitter was stupid. You said Facebook takes too much time, and what am I gonna get out of it? And you weren't willing to build a long-term relationship. You wanted to hook up with your customer, and I wanted you to go Beyonce on it and put a fucking ring on it. And that, my friends, is marketing in 2012 and beyond. Thank you.